He's here.
Oh, he's here. I don't. Well, that's not him on the screen.
Look. Okay, we have
Oh,
somebody.
there
All
he
right,
is.
we
There he
have.
is.
Hey,
Yeah, I see him.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here with the heavyweights. Good evening, Mr.
welcome.
Ward.
No, hey, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. I'm excited about this because between you and Baba, like we about to get it in because I learned about this. I've learned about August Wilson's Century Cycle. I just did a profile on him because I try to use this channel to dig into unknown or untold Black history. And as I'm digging, I come across this century cycle, this 10th place cycle. So now I'm more intrigued. Now I'm more, I want to know more. And I appreciate you all because it was kind of a last minute request on my end. Um, and it just kind of worked out. So I do appreciate you all for being able to join me on here. But um, before I get into it and we introduce everybody, because you are our special sauce on this. So I do want to welcome everybody to this On the Shoulders of Giants YouTube channel. If this is your first time on the channel, I am Joseph Ward, the founder and creator of On the Shoulders of Giants. So please make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, make sure you leave a comment, interact with us, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, so we can get more people tuning into this information in this Black history that I'm giving through this On the Show the Giants channel, and I appreciate each and every person who comes on this channel to contribute to the information. So once again, thank you, Baba, for being gracious enough to join me, and definitely our my surprise for everybody is Mr. Summerhill 7. So thank you both for being here.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, brother.
So let's get into this century cycle. So for those who don't know, um, the playwright August Wilson, he one of his crowning achievements as a writer was his century cycle, or some call it the Pittsburgh cycle, because a lot of the plays, 9 of the 10 plays, were actually set in Pittsburgh. So from my understanding, talking with Bob Summerhill, you and you two. Well, basically, I'll let you two tell the story of how you two have collaborated with these plays and how you were able to bring these plays to life. I got like a million questions though, but I'll let you two tell it how it all happened with you two being a part of the Century Cycle.
Absolutely, absolutely, Joseph. Absolutely. Um, I want to first acknowledge on this day, that it is 9/11 and it's auspicious date and it's a time that we remember America, really. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it isn't any, I don't think, I wouldn't say it's any accident, right? That
Right.
this century, we're into the 20th year and we're celebrating the 19th anniversary of the attacks on the Trade Center. And today we're talking about August Wilson, who chronicled the entire century of our people. And if you're into zodiacs, like some of us are, ev- Mars is in retrograde, so everything is kind of reflective. We're reflecting back. So,
Right.
but you're really in for a treat, and your listeners are really in for a treat because we've invited someone who has a great deal of experience directing the plays of August Wilson
Okay.
to participate in this conversation. Uh, who's also an Obie Award winning actor, uh, a academic of theater of the highest order, just a real direct connection to August Wilson, his work, his plays. He's a playwright. His name is Mr. Olusegun Samuel G.
We lost them.
Awesome.
Yeah, we lost. Okay, we give him a few minutes, but
Well, I'm not sure where he was going with that, but I can make some other comments until he gets back in.
okay.
When you look at the person that August Wilson was,
I think we
right?
got him.
He, he was the son of I believe he was a German guy, an African American woman, and he took on his last name was actually Kittle, but he
I
changed
think he's back.
his mother's maiden name,
Right.
which was Wilson, right? But there's a story to how he became the writer that he was. His first play, Jitney, he submitted in a process uh, somewhere. It was in Connecticut, somewhere in the big state. It was the Eugene O'Neill Award or something like that. Anyway, he submitted Jitney to the organization twice. You know, uh, it said that he heard he heard an album by Ma Rainey. First time he heard the blues,
Right.
and he kind of said that set him free. That gave him an understanding of something he hadn't experienced before. It was certain vibes that black people had. He needed to make up he just needed to know what was, you know, going on, so to speak. He did it through characters that he created, and he stayed there. You got Summerhill back.
Yeah, we got him back. I thought he was. Well, his icon is dead to me. For some reason, he keep
Yeah, I
getting
see
knocked out.
I saw his picture up on the frame.
Yeah, it's because it popped up another one. Popped up this technology, man. It do what it wanted
Yeah,
to. I believe he was introducing the gentleman.
I think he was introducing me.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes.
yeah.
It's Lowell Williams here.
How you
Uh,
doing?
I'm great. It's I when he started saying these things, I'm pretty sure he was introducing me, but I don't want to assume that it was me. But some of the things he said, I'm saying I think that's me. He's getting ready to introduce. So
Yeah,
I'll take all those accolades, even though it may not have been me he was getting ready to introduce. Hearing him say those things about me, I said, "Is that really
Okay.
me?" Can you hear me?
I
Okay.
think he's back. Yes.
Go ahead. Let him continue.
Go ahead.
So I was saying I was very kind of embarrassed to hear him say those things he said about me. But as I say, I will take the accolades. Um, a little bit about my background that he was saying. I'm a teacher. I was a teacher at both UM and Miami-Dade Kendall campus. I've directed August Wilson's plays. I've seen most of them. I saw several of them on Broadway,
Okay.
which was quite an experience with seeing Charles Dutton in a piano lesson. Some great moments in the theater. Too bad that you weren't able, Mr. Ward, to go see these plays
Right.
for real, put up by really great actors. They were quite an experience. Um, August Wilson, for me, when I was teaching at Miami-Dade, I was teaching acting and theater appreciation. But in the theater appreciation class, I would teach, of course, the history of theater. But at the second half of the semester, we would read Fences in class.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have the students come up in every class. Somebody would have to come up and read. So I was making these non-actors do a little bit of acting. They were just basically reading. But that was an
Right.
interesting experience, and I found that to be a great tool because not only did it teach about theater, it taught a play, it taught about a great American playwright. I always had to remind them that August Wilson wasn't a great black playwright; he was a great American playwright,
Yes.
one of the best. Um, and so, as we read the play and got into it and got over there being embarrassed to be up in front of the class reading, they start to understand the dynamics of a black family.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting because I had a mixed class. In fact, most of my classes I would have maybe 2, 3 African American students. The rest would be white or Hispanic. So I had a nice mix of cultures. But it was interesting whenever, of course, in August Wilson, he uses the N word a lot.
Right.
So I would always get, do I have to say that word? I said, yeah, you got to say it because that's what he wrote. Then
Right.
that of course opened up a wonderful discussion about the word, what it means. We got into, of course, a lot of them being young, niggas with attitude with the Z. So we got into the different spellings of the word,
Mm-hmm.
how it's changed. And of course, I was able to talk from my experience, having grown up in segregated schools until I was in the 8th grade in Louisville, Kentucky. Uh, so I was able to talk about how that word impacted me. Um, I'll tell a quick story and then I'm going to stop talking. Um, I went to jail at 59. I mean, 59 years ago. I'm 75 now. So 59 years ago, that was, of course, the beginning of the era of nonviolent protests by Martin Luther King. In fact, his
Yes.
brother became the minister at my church in Louisville. So anyway, that's a big difference. I'm watching the protest today. Um, we were, first of all, because it was part of the nonviolent movement, we were trained. And of course, where we were trained is where most things happen in the Black community, was in the church. We would go to the church basement of a church called Quinn Chapel, AME Zion Church, which is the church my mother went to. That's where we would have training sessions on how to be not violent. So it was kind of like, if you know the history of the game, The Dozens,
Yes.
we would basically do that, except we would be acting as white people, calling us names, spitting at us, doing those kind of things, and how not to react to that. You could not show any anger whatsoever.
Right.
So my jailing happened after a white lady spit on me, called me the N word. Today, I can still see her face. The venom, the anger in her was just really over it. Even though we had rehearsed, it shocked me. When you have it happen, it really shocked me. And it
Right.
was interesting. Just as I was getting up in the paddy wagon, my mother, who was a teacher, was driving down 4th Street, which was the main shopping area in Louisville. And she saw me getting up in the paddy wagon. I waved at her. She waved at me. And she came all over to the jail and got me out. But I tell that story to say, my grandson, as Summer knows, just started this week, actually, Monday, in law school at Harvard. He's from Jersey. He lives in Jersey. He's been out demonstrating, protesting, as they call it. We used to call it demonstrating. His 13-year-old sister has been with him. His 18-year-old brother, who is on the autism spectrum, has been out demonstrating. And when I saw videos of that, I started to cry. In many ways, I was happy, but in other ways, I was very sad, because when I got arrested 59 years ago, I said to my colleagues, we were all teenagers too.
Yes.
If you read a book called The Children, it's about how it was the children that was out on the front lines, because our parents could not put themselves in a position to lose their jobs.
Right.
So it was mainly the kids. And I said to my friends, Well, at least when we get to be adults and have children, from what we're doing today, they won't have to be going through these kinds of things. And here we are 59 years later, and my grandchildren are out demonstrating. That saddened me, but it also gave me hope that there's a generation of kids who do get it.
Right.
Part of the problem right now is the anger, which I completely understand, the destruction. You know, I heard you talking before we went live about all of the riots and things that have happened. I lived through a lot of those.
So I want to interject into your monologue here, help you out, find your way back to your cue. You see,
you know me, I get talking. I'm sorry.
Actors can talk forever because they learn if you miss a cue, just keep talking until somebody interrupts you.
There you go.
It's not my problem. I'm keeping the play going. If no matter what say, and we can talk about the weather, because it's whether the weather is cold or whether the weather is hot. We'll be together, whatever the weather, whether you like it or not. You see, so you got to interrupt when you were acting. Now here's the thing, Joseph, and I'm guilty of this. So cut me off, Baba and Lord. But these are the shoulders I stand on as an actor. You see, so people say, "The real Seven, you're so cocky." I said, "Well, no, you just don't know the people whose shoulders I'm standing on." You see, they wouldn't allow me to be anything less than this. You see, and what August Wilson is, Joseph, and I'm really curious to know what fascinates you about it. I know for these people, it's income. You know, I mean, we're in the business of theater, right?
Right.
So I'm interested to know what other people find interesting. But here's what August Wilson allows for. He allows for debate. He allows for Black people to agree, disagree, agree violently, disagree violently, for us to be the full spectrum of human beings. You see, Lowell and I have a constant rivalry that keeps us both going, I think, in this dialect between, you know, there's some righteous path that everybody ought to line up and be on and salute, and like the reality, which is there's some good shit and there's some bad shit. And that's not how the world goes, you know? People live and they die. It really isn't anything magical. And so August Wilson, he has these conversations built in, but not only that, Joseph, he does it for each particular decade, Joseph.
I see.
So now you know from looking at movies, Black people in particular, and I'll just say this because I'm affiliated with the Black race, and so you can tell a Black person just by looking at a quick picture. Oh, this is from the 70s. This is from the 20s. This is from the 50s. It's distinct. It's not, you know, that's not necessarily true with American culture in general. You know, the styles in the 50s kind of come back, they go. The gangster styles, they come and they go. The 70s might be an exception. But August Wilson did that, though, but he did it with words.
He did.
A photo. He took a sound photo of the way we talk and behave in the 20s, in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Now, you allow generation after generation of students to be exposed to this work in the same way that they've been exposed to Arthur Miller or Oklahoma. That was the one they taught me in school, Oklahoma. That's when I said I'll never do theater in my life. I had to listen to that song. But you get us listening to that, you got a whole nother conversation about race, a whole nother conversation about progress. Lorraine Hansberry, you get people thinking about real estate and owning your own real estate. I mean, so I'm going to yield the floor to Baba because Baba played one of the most iconic characters in the August Wilson canon, and that's Old Joe. Old Joe is really, he's the patriarch.
Okay.
He's the patriarch of the cycle, of the 10-play cycle. But before Baba, Joseph, tell me what it is that really made you say, "Oh, I want to know more about August Wilson."
Well, growing up, it's crazy. Every school I went to was either 50% black or predominantly black. So I graduated from FAMU, went to Rickers High School here in Tallahassee. So I've been on the South Side schooling my whole life, surrounded by black people, and I never learned about August Wilson. And in conversations with a friend named Keith Turner, I actually learned about August Wilson through Keith Turner. And when I say Keith talks about August Wilson a lot, he talks about August Wilson a lot. And we did a live a couple weeks ago, and we did it on the word, storytelling, and the griot. And one of the griots he kept naming because we placed August Wilson in that category was August Wilson. So I decided to do more research because on this channel I display the stories of the sung and unsung heroes that we normally don't learn about because I got tired of us not learning about it.
Yes,
so
sir. Yes, sir.
As I'm piecing together his story and going through the information, and I learned about this 10-play cycle. So in my mind, I'm thinking this is a literary feat. Now this is some extraordinary stuff right here. This is not just no fly by night stuff. Now I understand that it's given to us casually, and the information is just casually out there. But I'm looking at this like, hold on now. So he wrote 10 plays at different points in time, and they all connect and they all represent a different decade. I need to learn more. I need to know who Aunt Esther is. I need to learn more about Aunt Esther, and I really want to be able to wrap my mind around the characters and the why and the depthness of this, and especially with 9 of the 10 plays being set in Pittsburgh. Okay, I have to know more. So I'm definitely grateful that you all are here to help me learn more and my audience to learn more about the 10-play cycle because this is incredible work and I want more people to know about this.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna partner. We're gonna partner on the August project that we're doing right here in Tallahassee. Okay. Our mission is very simple. It's to do exactly what you do. It's to spread the word like it's the gospel, the good news. Okay. It's
right.
Like that. What did you say the brother's name was?
Keith Turner.
Keith Turner. We want to meet Keith Turner. We want to do a monthly Zoom call and talk about ways that we can promote and broadcast and get the word out about August Wilson, to get it into the schools, to get it produced. We're just going to go. See, we're going to take the energy that Mr. Williams was referencing earlier. I think he used the word sadness. We don't use sadness over here in the world of poemity. What we do is we transmute energy. So if we receive some energy, we transmute it into something we want to manifest. And what we do is, Black Lives, we already know that part. We knew that before we got here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all that energy that's going on in the world and we're going to invest some of it into August Wilson. And August Wilson is invested his life in telling our story. So we're going to give our story back to us through the eyes of August Wilson, thereby letting everyone know that, look, we came through the worst century. And this is the blueprint on how we made it through. That last century was the one that was going to kill us. It ain't going to be this century. Okay, we winning. He wrote all his plays before Barack Obama. He didn't get to live to see Barack Obama. He prophesized it with his final play. And that's why I want Baba to talk about his experience playing the patriarch. Baba.
Radio golf.
Yeah, old Joe. The patriarch.
Yeah. Well, I had the honor and the privilege to portray Elder Joseph Barlow in the Central Theater back in 2017. That was actually the first Wilson play that I had ever read. I was aware of him. I had seen Fences. I knew about the others, but I hadn't read them. So when I went back with some of those, I looked at all of them from the perspective of where I was at Joseph when I was Joseph Barlow, and I began to see these familial connections going on from the very beginning. Jim of the Ocean. What's the guy's name? Citizen Barlow.
Citizen Barlow.
Citizen Barlow. The reason they call him Citizen is because he was one of the first black people to be born after slavery. Okay. So that's why he was called Citizen, right? That's what everybody called it. So that he's my character's ancestor. Okay. And my character's mother, Black Mary, is in the generation as well, right at the very beginning. The thing opens up.
After.
Yeah. So I started making these connections, and I started to see certain themes, like the way they talk to money, and how to get it, through different schemes and this and that. But there was always some conversation about money. There was always some conversation about relationships between men and women,
Land.
In radio talk. Go ahead. Somebody has something to say?
Land. There's always talk about land, getting money to get land.
Right. The Aunt Esther's house, 1839 Wiley. Right. That was a tribute to the Underground Railroad. Beginnings of the Underground Railroad, 1839. Right. He snuck that in there. One of the guys in the Ocean used to be a conductor on the Underground Railroad. I forget the character's name right now, but so this is what 1904 when we wrote the Ocean took place. And another thing I want to mention is someone here was talking about the use of language. Mm-hmm. See, we've always had language in each period. We have some kind of linguistic trick that they can't understand. That's why Haitian Creole is so hard to understand by people who are native French speakers. You listen to Creole, sometimes you can't tell that it's not French, but it ain't. And French-speaking people catch hell trying to understand it, right? I think that we as a people made a grievous error because Wilson didn't think that black people ever should have left out. He thought we should have stayed there, and he thought our existence there all over the place like that, right? But he was it's the Kujichaga mentality, right? A lot of the radio golf was centered around the proposed demolition of 1839 Wiley Street. Right. They're getting ready to gentrify the place. The main character, Harmon Wilson, running for mayor. His business partner is like captured by the other side of the track. He thinks playing golf is the most wonderful, spectacular thing a black person could do. You know, my character, old Joe, he tells this guy, he said, I knew this brother had a golf club. He didn't have no golf balls. You know, he bust you upside the head with it if you mess with him. But that, you know, that's what that golf club was good for. You know?
Right.
Yeah, and so yeah, he touched on everything. But the language thing, we gave up Ebonics when we should have just been bilingual. We didn't have to give up Ebonics to speak, you know, to speak their language. We don't got to give up our own.
Well, I don't think we gave it up. I think.
Well, you're right. We didn't, and that's what Wilson is dealing with. He said when he heard, you know, how people were talking, it freed him up because he was, you know, working with all these constraints and stuff. And he's like, no, I'm loose now. I can do my thing. Yeah, exactly. I'm good. Y'all can pick it up.
Yeah,
no, but
he actually kind of chronicles the way we talk over this. Right. He captures the musicality of it. So.
Yeah, I tell people all the time about the way we talk as black people in America, because a lot of people try to make us or put us in this box where we have to meet this European standard. We have to speak this King's English the way that the white people speak. And I try to tell, well, the white people in America don't even speak it like the white people in England. Right. You know, so there are different ways of speaking it, but we don't have to be put into this European box of language. We have our own way of speaking that's cultural to us. So if I say I ain't fixing to do it, then guess what? I ain't fixing to do it. That's what it is.
Right, exactly. And listen, friends, as actors, we know, Joseph, that it most certainly must not be either or. We must have at our disposal all of the tools. You see,
right.
We must be able to speak these, thems, and those, as well as these, thems, and those. You see,
yeah.
Theater.
If I'm talking to the king, I guess I'll be speaking the King's English. But when I'm talking to my homies, you know, that book I referenced last time I talked about the Carthaginian Honor Society, and I told you something about the way these brothers held their meetings. I'm going to tell you what it was. They held their meetings in sign language. Wow. They could not be, you know, they couldn't plant a bug in to hear what they were saying because there was no sound. Right. Sign language. Like, that's the most clever thing I ever heard of.
It is. You know? It is.
Yeah. Hey, language, man. That's the key to everything.
That's the whole thing. And that's what the power of theater is. That's the power of August Wilson. So thankful for you, Brother Ward, because you know, you're the vanguard. You're the keeper. You see, I'm 90. Lowell's about 200. Bob's about 250. So, you know, you have a chance to make it, you know, and spread the word. And we're going to do just that. Because listen, just like you were hungry and thirsty, the masses are hungry and thirsty right now.
Right.
So we're going to spread this language and they're going to eat it up. You know, when they first started doing all these plays in Pittsburgh, he was a local playwright. He was a local guy like you, Joseph, doing his thing, boom, boom, boom. And then the word got out about Jitney, lines around the corner. In Pittsburgh, lines around the corner, they couldn't get enough. And and then here's what happened, what we're doing. So how this whole thing came about was, you know, Mr. Wells, right? Luther Wells.
I'm familiar with the name.
Okay, well, you want to get real. Say that again.
He'll break
I
up.
said Luther Wells. He's the chairman of. He's the one that directed me in Radio Golf. But he's the head of the theater department at FAMU, Essential Theater.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the chairman of that department.
So he's definitely somebody who wants to coordinate with this effort. The FAMU is the only place in Tallahassee where they produced an August Wilson play.
Right.
So they're definitely partners in this effort. And we want to get the city and the county and all the other resources into this project because it's one of the few things that's a win-win, for everybody.
Right.
But this came about because we said, listen, we want to read the plays from beginning to end. A lot of people know about the cycle. We want to read every single word in the order that he intended it to be received. And so we started at when, Baba? And
We started back in March. I believe the day was March 21st. Right before at the beginning of the quarantine. When we started.
There you go.
Yeah, back in March. We finished in June.
And we finished at the end of June. We did all 10 plays because we wanted to do them back to back.
Right.
And we had cast Lowell Williams. What roles did you read, Lowell?
Which was I was not in all. Which I can't even remember which ones I did now.
I know. After a while, they started together.
They were all starting to run together.
They did. Which ones have you directed, though?
Well, I directed 7 Guitars, which was a fun production. Piano Lesson. I was in Piano Lesson. And then those were the 2 standouts for me.
Talk about 7 Guitars.
And then, of course, pardon me?
What makes 7 Guitars distinct?
Well, one, it was the 40s, which is the decade I was born in.
Okay.
So that kind of resonated with me that this was what was going on with the adults pretty much in my era of that time. And so it began to make me understand kind of how I am what I am as a result of the way those people talk to me.
Wow.
Right. I just was listening to Nikki, and she was saying, which was what I'm saying now. I grew up in the church, and she says one of the things that's missing in the church today, a lot of young people think church is all about religion, but we learned to do public speaking because when my grandmother would have her groups would have what they call their teas or whatever, Sunday afternoon things, the children had to get up and perform in some way. You had to say a poem. You had to play the piano. You had to do something. So that's why you have a lot of great orators coming out of the Black church, because we were trained to do public speaking. And we had to learn to speak, as you said earlier, the King's English. Yes. I had teachers who made us enunciate. And when people would say, "Oh, you're trying to make me sound like I'm white," and she would say, "Nigga." And when you just talked about saying ain't, I had a teacher in class say, "Nigga, you're going to learn to speak because good English has no color or race."
Ooh, that part.
And you have to be able to speak in all areas. You need to be able to go. My father said, I, as an educated man, I should be able to go to a cocktail party and participate in any conversations going on.
There it is.
So I do have a question, because you were able to direct a August Wilson play. So what goes into the actual preparation for directing the August Wilson play? And just kind of, can you take us through your experience as a director of an August Wilson play?
Well, first I learned in school, do your research.
Right.
If you're going to write a book, or as I'm doing now, writing plays, you better do some research. You need to learn how to do research. So first it started off with me reading as much as I could about the era of the 40s. And not just about Black people in the 40s, but white people in the 40s. What was their thinking? we talk about Lorraine Hansberry and the idea of being able to move into a white neighborhood. Well, we learned about redlining, so you
Mm-hmm.
understand some of the dynamics of how. So I went into those kinds of things in preparation. I knew and paid homage to the fact that he writes in a poetic style. There is poetry to the language. So I was making sure as we did our table work, the beginning of reading the play before you get on your feet, that we're paying attention to the cadence, because that's all part of what makes our speech so interesting and specific. We have a
Mm-hmm.
cadence to our language, the way we speak.
Right.
I'm sure if I studied more, I would understand from my African heritage about the cadence of certain dialects.
Right.
Uh, I know a little side. I was in a play, Popi Nongena, and all the actors were from South Africa except me, and we had to learn to speak the language, which is spelled Xosa. Well, there's
Right.
a rhythm to speaking with a South African dialect. I
Mm-hmm.
mastered it as best I could. But what I'm saying, you have part of my training, or not training, but directing, was getting all the actors to be on the same page with the language. It's like
Right.
he's like, well, I don't want to call him black. He's like Shakespeare in that the rhythm is very important to getting across the ideas and the concepts. I would sit sometimes as director with my eyes closed and listen to rehearsal going on. And I would
Mm-hmm.
jump in, no, go back and do that line again because it didn't ring true on my ear as to what I thought August Wilson was writing.
Right.
And then we learned about the with the costumers, the dress, how people dress, as you were just talking about, the
Mm-hmm.
customs of the scene where the women are breaking up collard greens, and the guy says, "No,
Yeah.
you don't cut them. You don't cut them
Right.
up with a knife. You break them up." Well, paying attention to those kinds of details brings August Wilson to life, and that's my job, I think, as director, to bring out the things beneath the script and beneath the words that make it really come alive. As Summer knows, when you're on stage, it's about living characters.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of demand that my actors, for the 2 hours or so, quite often 2.5, 3 hours with August Wilson, uh, that you try to live the character for those 3 hours. You pick them up when they
Right.
come to the theater, and you leave them alone, because you take them home with you. Some of these characters, they'll drive you crazy.
Listen, I want to say this, Joseph. I want to say a couple things to this.
Yeah.
I didn't personally witness Lowell's production, but I have great affinity and affection for everything Lowell does, especially his art, and just hearing him describe his process is very moving. And I got to say this about that. August was a was a pragmatist ultimately, right? He talked
Mm-hmm.
tough, but at the end of the day, he was a participant in the mainstream theater, which is predominantly white. And he
Right.
talked about having black people direct his play because he allowed the fact that mostly white people were directing his plays. So
Mm-hmm.
the most he could really do was decry it and talk about the fact that there weren't more black directors. But Lowell is a perfect example of why we don't want white people directing the plays, because we
Right.
have too many people who are skilled, trained, and qualified and bring something to the play that is not quantifiable, that it's almost malpractice these days, especially post Black Lives Matter, as far as I'm
Mm-hmm.
concerned. It's almost malpractice, although I still hear, white people wanting to direct August Wilson plays. As a part of a reparations package, I would preclude any further, you know, if you want white theaters are really, they are really kind of the leading uh, proponents of white privilege.
Yeah.
And that's the training that both Lowell and I come through. We come through these training programs with, I think he was the only African American man in his class or in the whole school at
Yes,
the time.
at Temple.
In the whole school or the whole class?
Oh, no. Well, at Temple, I was the first and only in the MFA program. In high school, I was the only black in my high school.
Right.
Wow.
And I was, and then in 2007, I was one of 3 out of a class of 24. So we have so many great opportunities, Joseph, to create professional training programs for predominantly African American work. You see, it isn't about the people. It's about these stories have to have qualified actors to be able to be performed. And
right.
we have how do they get qualified? Well, we have to train them. We have to have Baba Olusegun Williams. We have to have Lowell Williams. We have to have Patricia Williams. Your last name must be Williams if you're going to train somebody in black theater. If you're not learning from a Williams, then you ain't really learned nothing. Okay?
Right.
Too many Williams in the theater, to be learning from other people. And so these are the opportunities that we're about to unleash just with this treasure. Because you discovered it from your friend, your man, and his enthusiasm, you see? And
right.
That just tells, I don't know how you gentlemen, Lowell and Baba feel, but I feel so relieved by that. I feel like the pressure's off. I feel like I'm just caught up in something in the right place at the right time for the demand that is coming for this work.
Can I just say something real quick? They make me want to say, like in the church, thank you, Jesus, for sending the young people. Thank you, Jesus. My prayers are finally answered. Thank you, Jesus.
That's exactly how we all feel, isn't it, Baba? That's how we all feel.
Yeah. I had a thought that has escaped me. August, as a playwright, he made a comment once that he was glad he hadn't read, all this other European plays, Chekhov and all these other people, because that would have interrupted his flow somehow. He would have been stuck in that rut. So he was able to go freestyle, freeform, and create his own voice. It's almost like a jazz musician. You learn how to play the instrument, but then you got to find your own voice on that instrument, and communicate according to your spirit, and that's what he did.
Right. So from my research, it was I found that he was inspired a lot by the culture of the neighborhood he grew up in Pittsburgh and the black people that he was around in Pittsburgh. And like you were saying earlier, how he was intentional in incorporating the language, but also intentional in incorporating the culture that he grew up around, the culture that he experienced. And I thought that was excellent. And as creators, I think all black creators, we should be capturing the black experience. We should be telling the various black experiences that we have, but we should also the story should be authentically black stories. And like you said, like someone here said, white people shouldn't be in charge of that. So I do have a question though with saying that. When he moved to Seattle, and he was with the Seattle Repertory Theater, was that a white theater company? Is that a company that had white directors, or was he able to have black directors to help direct the 10-play cycle?
I'm pretty sure it's white, but Lo, what do you know? You guys know anything different?
I don't know anything. I think they were white directors. I think.
Okay.
I remember that big conversation they had. I forget the man's name, where it was a national debate about white directors and black theater and white directors directing his play. Pardon me?
It was a debate, yeah.
Yeah, that big debate. But
Okay.
yeah, it hinges on, as you said, this summer, what's going on right today with all of the finally people realizing that there is racism in America. That now a lot of black actors and theater people are challenging the white establishment about how their attitudes have played a part in America's racism.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya Pinkins, I mentioned to you about her being thrown, quitting the Caucasian Chalk Circle.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, and listen, all of the covers are off. I don't know. We're laying naked. Our crews are laying naked, and we're in a good position though, Joseph, because Florida actually has the oldest black theater in the country. And Baba Olusegun Williams is one of the founders, and Lowell Williams directs there regularly right up until the COVID. He was in rehearsal there. So you have the distinction, Joseph Ward, of being really one of the leaders in breaking this story about black theater in the world. Because
Yes.
I mean, right? Because this, I mean, I've seen black theater in London. Like I've seen a play, August Wilson, in London, and they have a long way to go before they get these sounds. You see, these
Yeah.
sounds were, were forged in cotton fields and tobacco fields and slave ships and the coast. There's just something about this sound, and I'm
Yeah.
in the north myself, but as I listen to myself now, I mostly hear these southern sounds.
Right.
This blues, this delta, this yearning, this crying. Oh wow, look, oh man, here we go. Ooh, you see how the spirit works?
I think
Really,
you pop up, I'm bringing you in. It's getting better.
oh my goodness, let me tell you. So you have the founder of the oldest black theater in the country, Baba Olusegun Williams. You got Lowell Williams, director of August Wilson plays, award-winning actor, major dude. You got me, and you got Professor A.K. Matata, who is the truth. He played our Walter Lee in our Raisin in the Sun reading, which we did right after we finished the cycle, right? Because we had to do Sankofa. We had to look back to what gave rise to August Wilson was Lorraine Hansberry, the man who directed Raisin in the Sun originally on Broadway, was the one who discovered August Wilson.
That's true.
So there's a direct connection. And I'm going to leave our dear brother, Professor A.K. Matata. You see, you put that PROF on there. You see that with the period right there? He got the period too. And so everybody don't put the period. But when you put the period right there, that means he came ready to play. Okay. So I'm going to
welcome.
Jump on in here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the welcome, brothers. I am honored. Very much so, to be here. I came to listen and see, what the brothers are talking about.
How many August Wilsons have you done?
That's a good question. I think 1, 2, 3.
Whoa.
3. I've been a part of readings and things like that. Are we counting those? No?
We're counting everything because we want to hear. Okay. We want to start hearing some of them words. Spend some of them. I got to start off because this is my favorite. My favorite is you know what you are? I figured it out. You a Negro. See, you ain't a nigga. White folks think you a nigga, but they don't know like I know.
Yeah.
See, a dog knows he's a dog, and a cat knows he's a cat.
Oh.
But a Negro is the worst thing on God's green earth. Because a Negro think he's a white man.
Yeah.
That's August. Okay, that's the one I got. That's the one I wake up to. I said 5 times a day, keep my teeth white. That's mine. What you got, AK?
Man. I'm gonna have to go with Bynum. I'm gonna read him because
Yes, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to go with Bynum.
Sometimes you do too much August Wilson, your brain explodes.
Yeah, no question. No question. I'm gonna have to go with Bynum in the bones, man.
You going back to Jim?
No, I'm gonna go with Joe Turner.
Joe Turner, yes, Joe Turner. Okay.
Where is he? Hold on. What's he talking about?
This is a historical moment.
Hold on.
Summerhill.
Yes, sir.
Minutes ago, you were reciting those lines about the Negro thinks he's a white man. It remind me of Roosevelt Hicks at Radio Golf.
Mm-hmm. That's where I thought. That's where it's from.
That's that guy Sterling talking to Roosevelt Hicks.
So my friend Keith Turner is actually watching this, so shout out to Keith. He sent me a message and saying Claude Purdy was the person who encouraged August Wilson to become a playwright.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Out of Penumbra?
Yeah.
Out of Penumbra, right?
Penumbra.
Yeah.
In Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a poet. So this is a picture. You can't really see it that well, but this is a picture of Jitney at the M Ensemble, which Baba is the founder of, and where Lowell directs. And then that's Radio Golf that we did. I gotta say, Jitney was directed by John Pryor.
Mm-hmm.
The major legendary African American director. You want to talk about giants? John Pryor is a giant of the theater. He's one of the staples at the M Ensemble. And then the Radio Golf was done in this is a regional premiere in South Florida with all actors that are from the M Ensemble, including the late W. Paul Bodie, who played Sterling and said those words. So
John Pryor was at Miami-Dade North Campus when I was working there. And the last production I did before I moved to Tallahassee was Zoo Man and the Sign under John Pryor's direction.
Charles,
wow.
Yes.
Who played Zoo
Man? It wasn't me. I played the uncle.
You played Lou Gossett role?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me give you the Bynum from Joe Turner's Come and Gone, and this is when Maddie is asking Bynum she's asking him about her man, right, and coming back, make him come back. He says it ain't nothing to make somebody come back, but he says the roots is a powerful thing. I can fix it so one day he'll walk out his front door. He won't be thinking of nothing. He won't know what it is. All he knows is that a powerful dissatisfaction done set in his bones, and can't nothing he do make him feel satisfied. He'll set his foot down on the road, and the wind and the trees be talking to him. And everywhere he step on the road, that road will give back your name, and something will pull him right up to your doorstep. Now I can do that. I can take my roots and fix that easy, but maybe he ain't supposed to come back. And if he ain't supposed to come back, and he'll be in your bed one morning and it'll come up on him that he's in the wrong place, that he's lost outside of time from his place that he's supposed to be in. Then both of you be lost and trapped outside of life. And there's no way for you to get back into it. Because you lost from yourselves and where the places come together, where you're supposed to be alive with your heart kicking in your chest with a song worth singing.
Man, I like that.
Man,
Yeah, baby, that's it.
man,
Yeah.
You feel the soul in it.
Professor.
Feel that.
that brother, I gotta say, if there's anybody who understood just about the humanity, our humanity's connection to our roots,
Mhm.
and how our roots inform our humanity. You were talking about Sankofa, you were talking about going back to look ahead. Our understanding of where we came and developing that understanding and making that connection in order for us to move ahead. August put that into place, but it wasn't in this sense of hey, see this, this is important and prescient. But it's almost like, you know, the how our ancestors and how the indigenous people everywhere took art, and you know that it served its purpose. You know that it's serving
Right.
its purpose. You know, it's not just a vase, it's this beautiful work of art that you drink from, or this that you get water from, or that you cook
Yeah.
with, you know. And so this idea of going to see or experience or be in an August Wilson piece gives you a sense of community, it gives you a sense of connectedness to your past, and it also gives you a sense of connectedness to where we need to go, where we are going as an evolved community, as an evolved people.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, very good. It gives us a complete narrative that is independent of uh that isn't codependent. You see,
Yeah.
a lot of the narratives about indigenous people around the world are
Mhm.
codependent on some sort of rescue. Uh,
Yes.
Right.
somebody saved them from
Yes.
themselves or someone else.
Alert from Google Chrome.
So this is
Cat
a
Crunch.
narrative where you see people survive. You see people make it. You see people make it day to day. You see people make it generation after generation. You see people make it under unlikely, just ridiculous circumstances against all odds. You always see what you always see in the black community in August Wilson's plays, and that is the supernatural element. You know, I mean,
Right.
The spirituality, the spirituality, the forces and pieces that the unseen, you know,
Yes.
the
Yes.
unseen, and
So
it's go ahead, please.
no, I was just going to say with that being said, because we're getting into the spirituality aspect of it. It make me more curious about Aunt Esther, because from my reading, she was 285 years old, but she was also a central part of some of a lot of these plays. So could you all kind of break down who Aunt Esther was and like how she represented that spiritual aspect within the August Wilson plays?
Okay, I'll just jump in with a couple 2 cents, and I'll let people who know what they're talking about say something. And I'll say this. First of all, I think Felicia Rashad was the first person to play this role, if I'm not mistaken. Lowell, I don't know if you know.
Yes, I think so.
I think she
In,
was.
in Jim, in
Yeah,
Jim.
I think she was. And, you know, to me, as an actor, and that's my liability in this conversation, I look at the original cast often to get some sense of, especially August at that point had the pick of the litter. Okay. And so if he's gonna go with Felicia, and I've heard some very interesting interpretations of, including like some gullah sounds with Aunt Esther recently that give me pause. But and I was actually in the room when August Wilson said these words, and I think other people have heard this too, at the Schomburg Library. He said the character of August Wilson appeared in the room, his writing room, and just stood there as he was writing with her arms crossed like this, Tilton. Just say nothing. And then eventually after, maybe he might have said month, don't get me wrong, it's on tape somewhere, I'm sure somebody. But well, after a period of time, she said, well, don't I have anything to say? Or she injected herself into the conversation. So whatever Aunt Esther represents isn't symbolic. It sounds very real and tangible. At least that's how August Wilson described it in his words. So that's my 2 cents.
Let me add a little something here. Aunt Esther, they say she was 285 years old. That means she was born sometime in the 1600s. If she's that old. And just imagine what she's born witness to. But she's a conjure woman. She has some knowledge of African spirituality, and she knows how to put it to use. She is not a physical presence in all of the plays, but she is a spiritual and I guess I say emotional presence through the whole, through all of it. You know, that's her house. And right in the beginning of Gem of the Ocean, she's at her house talking. It's a prologue. It's not even the Act 1 yet. It's just a short prologue. She's talking to I forget who it is, at her door. The guy wants to have a conference with her because he's trying to get some spiritual consultation. And she's like, come back Tuesday. You know, I told you to come back Tuesday. Right? And that's the end of that. But the address was 1839 Wiley. The house they're trying to save from demolition in Radio Golf is 1839 Wiley. Right? Her being a conjure woman, if you look at Gem of the Ocean, Act 2, she got a 3.5-page soliloquy where she runs it down talking to Citizen Barlow about going to the city of bones. And she runs it down. Now, something I found out just today, and I want to say I don't like to use the word coincident, but the guy Benjamin Mordecai, who wanted August to start his theater company, right? Benjamin Mordecai. Some kind of way, I found myself reading the book of Esther in the Bible this morning, right? Trying to see what's the connection. Esther was she was an orphan. Her parents had died, and her uncle had adopted her. Her uncle's name was Mordecai.
Right.
He was a Benjamite.
Oh no!
A Jewish Benjamite. I was like, what? What's going on, right?
Everything was intentional.
So I read the story, and it seems that this king, I can't even say his name, but he had a queen. Her name was Vashti or Vashti, right?
Yes.
And it was customary that when the king called for anybody, they had to come. You can't say no. I can't see you right now, right? So he had called Vashti into his presence one time, and she refused to go. So he kicked her out, right? And he sent for all all the virgins and all the beautiful women in the territory he had control over to come to him so he could select somebody. And Mordecai shows up with his daughter and said, well, don't talk to him too much about your family because she's Jewish, right? And so she didn't. The king took a liking to her, called her in one night, spent the night with her. Instead of sending her back to where all the maidens were, he sent her to where the concubines were. Then he married her and she became the queen. But there was this other guy, I think his name was Haman, who had some kind of vendetta against the Hebrew people. So, but he was seen in a good light by the king. And so he marches into the king and says, since you like me so much, why don't you give me a nice horse and some nice stuff to have, and let me roll with all this stuff, to show how much you love me. And in the background, he was sending out a notification for all the people in the provinces to kill all the Jews, to attack them, annihilate them, kill the women and children, the babies, do everything, and so Mordecai found out about it. One of the palace eunuchs or somebody told him. So he sent a message to Esther, like, you're the king's favorite. So can you go talk to him and see if you can't save the people? And so she said, well, I'm not really supposed to go see him unless he sends for me. But then, after a few more conversations, she said, you know what? She said, I'm going to go approach him, and if I die, I just die. I just have to die. So she shows up in the presence of the king, and the way you would know that he accepted the presence of somebody he had not called for, he would extend his scepter, and the person would have to touch it, right? I don't know what kind of off to the side connotations that might have, but I read some other type of stuff in that just a little bit. Right? There are a couple of occasions where she had to do that. Right. And the king told her, he's like, what do you want? She said, well, what I want to do is I want to have a dinner for you and this Haman guy who's trying to get all the Jews killed. She said, I'm going to fix a lunch for y'all. Y'all come to lunch. They come to lunch, and he said, well, what you want me to do for you? He said, I'll give you anything you ask for, up to half of my kingdom. I'll give you everything. Right. And she said, well, why don't you and the guy come to dinner, tomorrow, right? And so she finally let it know what his plot was. Can you do something to help save my people? So he sent an edict out to all the prophets. Haman had actually built a gallows to hang Mordecai from when he found out he was Jewish. But it was because of Esther that the script got flipped. And Haman wound up being the one executed at the gallows. And, the word went out for the Jewish people to defend themselves and this and that. But it was just very interesting that they talked about the casting of lots. The Hebrew holiday of Purim, Purim, is based on the story of Esther and what went down with that. And they said that the people casted lots, which is an African tradition, probably not just African, but in traditional African spirituality, they do divination. They cast lots.
Joseph,
so that's kind of an organic connection to that. I don't know how well the stories match, but that thing about casting lots caught my attention.
Jewish too. I mean, people. I don't know why they overlooked that, but that's. I don't think that's overlooked in the fact that he was so well received. I mean, I think his Jewishness was beneficial for him. His father was Jewish, and I think his I don't know, sensibilities in some ways as a man. Certainly, he talks about this boxer. I don't know if anybody's seen the PBS thing. They say his dad was a drunk. Fred Kittle was a drunk, they said. But, lots of people are drunks. That doesn't mean they don't influence their kids. I would suspect, and I don't hear people talking about this. Have any of you heard anybody talk about how August's Jewishness has been influence on his life in any way? I haven't heard anybody really.
I haven't seen anything on that.
I know even in the PBS, I mean, they mention it, and it's almost like, but I don't know. I gotta think part of that's marketing. It's like you downplay that when you're marketing a product because you don't want it to seem less authentic. It's like, when they marketed Barack Obama, they didn't really talk about the fact that his mother was a white Kansan, a white lady from Kansas. That wasn't really like the big leading factor. That wasn't the selling point, And so, but his mother is a white woman from Kansas, and we bought the whole package. Same thing with August Wilson. In fact, I did hear one brother at the National Black Theater Festival, a well-known actor, I won't say his name, say that part of the reason August Wilson used the word nigger so freely, frequently, and liberally was in part because his father was white. I thought, well, that ain't white. Nigger is one of my favorite words. But I did not. I did allow that the reason he was able to get away with it with that mixed audience so swimmingly was because he was biracial. Because he could sort of quell any concerns that he was offending. If you said, "Oh, this white guy," like look Tarantino. Tarantino got castigated. He doesn't care. He's making lots of money. He still does it. I like Tarantino, but no one said anything about August Wilson starting off Fences with the nigga had a
watermelon this big.
That's Fences, right?
Yeah, that's Fences.
Then he's got Tallahassee references in several of his plays.
Yeah.
Certainly Fences right off in that first monologue. She from Tallahassee, the gal from Tallahassee. They grow them right up out the ground. And
big stockings.
They got Indians in their family, all of that stuff. So August Wilson, this part of the country it's all August Wilson country. This is all the people he's talking about. He's literally talking about Tallahassee. To your point, Baba, these biblical references, these Jewish traditions, symbolically, they find their way into his work. I'm curious to know for Lowell and Professor Matada, how do you see, to answer Joseph's question, how do you see Esther's influence in the plays that you've all done? Because which three have you done, AK?
What do you?
Radio Golf, Joe Turner, and
Radio Golf, Joe Turner.
Guitars, right?
7 guitars.
Guitar. All the guitars. Where's Esther and guitars?
Say again.
Where's the influence of Aunt Esther and 7 guitars?
She's the one who why is his name? I'm spacing on his name right now. Headley goes to see, and not just Headley, but several others refer to Aunt Esther as the person to go to, and in addition to Sarah Degree, about about fixing, about healing, Headley, if I can remember correctly. And I think they, I want to say Sarah Degree, but I think Sarah Degree and Aunt Esther might be the same people.
Oh,
That's the theory. That's the theory. That's
an interesting theory.
Yeah, but I think she's always been the spiritual source, the healing source, the the one, you know, the shaman, if you will. Um, you know, I think it's telling that the preacher, the idea of the preacher, isn't very prominent in August's plays, but the idea of the healing woman or the apothecary, being, you know, Miss Sarah Degree um, or Miss God knows now her name just thank you, or Aunt Esther.
Yep.
Being that presence, you know,
Yep.
that idea of the healing coming from someone who is aware of their roots, someone who hasn't been completely irracinated,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
And I think that is August's connection to them. Same thing when I think about, even if they aren't in the play, someone who has dealings with them has been in the play, whether it be Bynum or whether it be, you know, Headley, you know, but they've connected to their roots, and they know about her, or they have visited her, or they see her. Um, but go ahead. You, brother Williams, brother Law, you were going to say something.
yeah, I was just going to say I see a connection. I don't know whether Wilson used this at all. There's a couple of things. Uh, I think we all may know about Lucy anthropologically, who Lucy is.
Yes.
Yes.
And it may be that some of that connection with Aunt Esther, going
Yeah.
back to Lucy probably being the progenitor of
Mm,
humankind.
mm,
Mm,
I'm, you know, we can sit here and postulate about what was going on with August.
sure.
I do know two things. I was fortunate enough to see him at a Queens library in New York City with about 50 people.
Mm,
So we got to talk to him. He told us about his writing process, where he would go down into his what he called his writing cave. This was when he was in Seattle,
mm,
and he would sit there and wait for his characters to come visit him. And I'm sitting there saying, "What?
yeah.
This man's crazy." And he would wait. Basically, what I heard him now, I look back, he was waiting for the visitations of his characters come talk to him,
Yeah.
and uh, Summer said, and Esther would stand there, her character stand there and say to him, "Hey, August, I got something I need to say."
Mhm.
And that's when he would start writing. I also know from things I've read, he personally, reason religion plays so much a part in his plays, he personally struggled with his belief in God, with
Mhm.
religion, with where that fit in to his personal life. So you
Mhm.
see that struggle in a lot of the dialogue and the characters
oh boy,
coming through.
Levy, Levy, that monologue. Hung up.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah. So,
Whoa.
like a good writer, that's what I'm learning as I'm learning to become a playwright. You use what you got. People,
Right.
I have now I understand what he was saying. I have characters literally wake me up in the middle of the night
Mhm.
because I can't sleep because I'm an insomniac like most writers, and they tell me, I hear them telling me, "Get up, motherfucker, and start writing."
Look, I got to tell you, in conjunction with that, brother, Suzanne Laurie Parks, and I have never had dreams, and I think, um, uh, brother Akbar, you and I have talked about this before. I've never had dreams as vivid and as connected and as metaphorical, as far as like our experience, as I have had when I'm doing an August Wilson play or doing a Suzanne Laurie Parks play.
Right.
And I say that to say this. She's also talked about often about how, and August was one of her mentors.
Mhm.
She's also talked often about how she will listen. If she's not writing the play, she says this vehemently. They are telling me. They are telling me. I'm listening to them tell me their story. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I think that there's a connection to. Again, we go back to that Sankofa. We go back to whatever ancestors are going through these stories, and a lot of a lot of August plays are are going back before he. I mean, the bulk of his plays are going back before he completely, moved on,
Amen.
or even completely matured fully to manhood.
Yeah.
So,
There, there's a line in the "Lift Every Voice and Sing," which is also known as the Negro National Anthem, and it says, "Go back to that place, our God, where we first met Thee."
mm, mm,
Well, where we first met Thee was in Africa, is what I'm interpreting
Hmm.
that to mean. So that
Right.
spirituality,
Yeah.
the Johnson brothers put that line of in the lyrics, and I take out of that, we met God way before the white man came and got us and started teaching us about his God.
yes,
And
Right.
so then that gets me into, well, what did our God back then, who was he or she, which is I often use she as a pronoun because I'm thinking about Lucy. Maybe Lucy was God
Uh,
You know
Can I
what?
add another line to that
in
verse?
a human form.
Right.
Can I add another line to that verse?
Go
It
ahead.
says, "True to our God, true to our native land."
mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Places our God where we met thee. True to our God, true to our native land. That's very profound to me as
Exactly.
an actual practitioner of African religion. That speaks volumes to me.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
As I'm listening to you all describe Aunt Esther, and before you said Lucy, what popped in my mind was she seemed Aunt Esther also seems like she represents the great mother, because I'm
Hmm.
deep into spirituality. So that great ancestral mother, that those primordial waters that these primordial gods come out of. She seemed like she represents creation itself, like from the
Exactly.
beginning of time, like she's always existed.
mm,
That's why
yeah.
I also refer quite often to God as she.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking about writing a play where I'm making God this black woman with an attitude, and she wears hoop earrings. And when she don't like something you do, she will snap you off.
Miss Burns,
look,
God.
look, look.
She'll do that thing.
She will grab you.
Exactly. She'll grab you and shake the living daylights out of
ah,
you.
she will.
Right.
Do you teach that
Yeah,
in your
Whoop,
professor?
whoop.
That's, you got to
I
learn
just,
that move.
I just
How
thought
to
of
act
something.
black? It's a
I
certain,
just thought if Esther was 285 years old, she's older than the lifetime of anybody that she knows,
Yes.
which
Hmm.
which puts her in that space of being something like that eternal mother you were just talking about. She was
Mm,
here before any of us.
yeah,
mm,
You know,
absolutely.
she's the origin of this whole lineage that goes through these ten plays.
Absolutely, brother.
mm.
She's literally the mother of that whole
Yeah.
tribe. Yeah.
In the Yoruba tradition, she would be Yemaya.
Yeah, Maya.
Yemaya,
Mm,
the
mm.
mother of waters.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
one of the reasons I started referring to God as she, when I started thinking about it, first of all, who wrote the Bible? Most of the books of the Bible are written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, men. Now, if they're going to write like writers, they're going to put some of themselves in these stories. So they're
Hmm.
going to visualize everything from a male's point of view. But you also see that in a lot of stories like Esther that you were talking about, women are very powerful in the Bible in changing things and using their sexuality to get what they want, to doing what. So women have a lot of power. And even
Yes.
today, that's a big struggle with, women power versus men and that whole struggle that's going on. So I think that's.
If I may,
Go
please?
ahead, jump in.
Unfortunately, because of that power, that woman power in my life,
You got to go.
You got to go.
I gotta go. I'm probably going to get home, and if I'm not sure if you
You
brothers
didn't
are
say
still
unfortunately, because this is being taped. You
right.
said fortunately.
Fortunately, very fortunately,
I thought that was a slip of
because
the tongue.
no, that was a slip of the tongue.
Yeah.
And thank you, brother, for helping me to regain my senses. But fortunately, my queen, my wisdom, is at home and just text me saying, "Hey, we're waiting on you." So
It's Friday night.
yeah, it's
And
Friday night.
everything's all right.
I
Brother,
appreciate it.
I'm yearning for more of this connection, and I appreciate you all allowing me to share space with you. Um, and I appreciate us having a chance to join together, Baba Olusegun and Brother Williams and Brother Akbar, and of course you, Brother Ward. Um, I appreciate you, and I say peace, Ashe, and walk with God, brothers. Walk with God.
Thank you, brother.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
We
Peace, peace,
we
peace.
will. I'm gonna make sure we can all exchange contact information because we got to make this happen again. So
Yes, that would be beautiful. That would be
yeah,
beautiful. Thank
thank
you,
you.
brothers. I appreciate
Governor,
No,
you
See
letting me
you
have
later,
the
brother.
words. All
peace
right.
out.
All right.
Peace.
Get home. I want to say one last thing too, because I've got to run. But I want to just go back to something you said early on, Mr. Ward, about language, the way we talk, and using "I ain't gonna fix it."
Mm-hmm.
My father, when I was 16 and I wanted to use our car to go out on my first date, of course, we didn't have car insurance, and my father I kept bugging him. He kept saying, because he spoke very good English, you can't use the car. And then finally he explained to me the insurance and all of that. And of course, I was horny. And so, but Dad, I need the car. Finally, he looked at me and he said, "What did I say? You ain't going to use the car." And walked
Mm-hmm.
away. And after that, I stopped asking him
Yeah.
because I knew when he went from you cannot use the car, you may not use the car, to what did I say? You ain't going to use the car. I finally understood. So I just wanted to add that in when you were talking about ain't fixing it. And I also like the
Yeah.
other term that we use. I'll be there directly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not directly. You can't say directly. It's directly.
Directly. Right.
That's the nuance of the speech. That's the
Yeah.
kind of thing I would pick on in a rehearsal about language. No, you said directly. It's directly.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Something that just came back to me that I wanted to say earlier. We were talking about Raisin in the Sun, right? Which was, I believe, the first African American play to be open on Broadway.
Yeah.
I think it was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was the second African American play to open on Broadway.
Wow.
So there's an organic connection there. There hadn't been one since Raisin in the Sun.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. And so so Keith sent me this information that Lloyd Richards, the director of Raising in the Sun, was the mentor of
August
August.
discovered
So,
August Wilson.
That's correct.
right.
That's right.
Mentor. He was also at the time the head of the Yale Repertory Theater company in the theater department at Yale.
Right.
He's he mentored
Yeah.
a lot of the major black actors and directors working today. I mean, they called him the dean of black theater. He was that dude.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And so he came along. It was the perfect storm, right? You had Lloyd Richards, and then they discovered August with Ma Rainey, that Levy monologue where he's like, God don't give a damn about your prayers. Fuck God. I mean, that was Charles Dutton cussing out God on Broadway. That was the clip. So, I mean, that's the one that's about to drop now, Joseph. The new movie about to drop is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to check that out.
Yeah.
Summer, when you were talking about the casting of his plays,
Yes.
and how important that is, I saw Ma Rainey twice. I saw it first on Broadway with Theresa Mary. Then later on, they did it with Whoopi.
Oh, okay. Go on.
Well, I'm going to tell you, as good as Whoopi is as a stand-up comedian and her acting, she could not hold a candle to Theresa Mary.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
No, I.
You know.
Yeah. Well, we know celebrity versus.
Of course, that was all commercial using Whoopi. That was the white man saying, how can we get people in the seats?
Yeah. Exactly.
But if you really appreciated good acting and good theater, Theresa Merritt was the one.
Now, was Theresa Merritt, was she a really great blues singer or a really strong actor or
she could sing too, yes.
Good. Okay.
Which is what Whoopi couldn't do as well.
Yeah. Okay.
She also had the girth, the body of Ma Rainey.
Right. Attitude.
She had that right attitude for that period of time. Of course, we know Whoopi can have attitude, but there was something special about Theresa Merritt's when she said, when they were getting out, you're late. The white man said, you're late. We've been waiting on you.
Yeah.
The look she would give, the look that she gave versus the look that Whoopi gave, it was like, when she looked at him, I knew she said, white man, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, yeah.
When Whoopi looked at her, it was not quite that vehement.
Was it more funny? Was Whoopi's production funnier?
No, not funny. It was just very different and not, to me, quite authentic.
Okay, good. So I'm glad you brought this up, Lowell, because I hope you're not going to leave now, because this is the juicy part. This is where we really get started. Because now I saw DW, my main man, do Princess on Broadway. I saw James Earl Jones do it, and I saw the movie. Now I'm not of the opinion one is better or worse. That's not where I'm coming from. But the differences are stark, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Denzel was a little bit. I got the impression. For me, if I had to say something about Denzel, Fences live, anyway, it was. It felt ice cold.
Yeah.
Felt like almost like pimps and hoes. It was almost like Training Day. You know,
right.
Yeah. He's a man for a certain period of time, the actor.
But I think the difference is because he has become a movie star versus a stage actor.
Yeah.
And that brings a different thing. If you watch, and Mr. Ward, you can go on YouTube and watch excerpts from the play, the Broadway production, and you will see during his production, there's a lot of laughter from the audience. When you see James Earl Jones, there's hardly any laughter going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a chance to see some of the clips from James Earl Jones' performance, and this is just my amateur view, but I thought
you don't have an amateur view, sir.
Okay, I appreciate it. But I just thought that James Earl Jones had a little more oomph. It was a bit different. It hit different than Denzel's did, because I do agree that Denzel's portrayal was a bit more ice cold than James Earl. Because James Earl seemed like that father who I've been through all these things, but that love is still there. You can still feel that warmness coming from me. rather than, like you say, that ice cold delivery from Dizelle.
Exactly.
Yeah, but James Earl Jones is from a different period of time. He grew up in, and that's the beauty of these plays is that 20, 50, 100, 200 years from now, we'll get people looking back in the same way they look back and do, Richard III, and they say, what do they say in Richard III? Now is the winter of our
discontent.
Glorious, something about this, sounds crazy, but people will be looking back and saying, God don't care about a nigga's prayers. They'll be, 300 years from now when people don't even say nigger anymore, that day that some people are looking for. That's your cue right there. Some people don't like the word nigger, so they want it gone. But these plays document when it was every other word out of our mouths referring to each other. Now, here's something we didn't mention yet, and that is the play in which Aunt Esther passes is the 60s. Is that right, guys? She physically is it the 60s or the 80s? It's either Two Trains Running or King Hedley II.
I think it's King Hedley. I think. I'm not sure. I don't want to.
It's definitely not Jitney.
Yeah, it might be King Hedley. Yeah.
Is it King Hedley? So it's in the 80s?
I think so.
So she makes it all the way. So she starts in Jim and the Ocean, and she passes away in the penultimate play, the Hedley, and then the final play is about her house in Radio Golf.
Right.
That's fascinating, isn't it, gentlemen?
Nah, it is. It is.
She wasn't living in her house in the 80s when she passed, or I think she was, right?
Yeah.
And then they would start looting her house during the riots. We just read it. We got to go read it again.
Yeah, well, that's when the house. That was when the house started having to come down, and the real estate company was debating on how they were going to do, and the guy was up there still painting the house because they had the deed.
Right, and that's what they called it, blight. They called her neighborhood a blighted area, and so they were paying money to the redevelopment corporations, right? These corporations that give people money to come in and redevelop. Okay, think of that. Redevelop. It's developed, but we finna redevelop it.
Yeah, I once attended a conference, a Black Museum conference.
Yeah.
And one of the keynote speakers talked about the importance of place, right? So like if something historic happened in your neighborhood 25, 30 years ago, might be something you want to show your grandchildren. You want to be able to take them to the place and say, see this right here? This is the place where this thing happened, right? But with redevelopment, we lose the place. The place gets torn down. So you can say, well, this is the location where this happened, or where this particular business or whatever it was, this is where it stood, but it's not there anymore. I can just tell you that's what it used to be, but I can't show you the actual thing, right? That's one of the, I'll give you an example of a successful case where a place was designated as a historic landmark to prevent that kind of thing from happening. That's American Beach over on Amelia Island over there by Jacksonville, right? A woman called the Beach Lady was able to spearhead an effort to get it placed on the National Register of Historic Places. But this got condominiums and resorts right up to the fence on both sides, right? I'll give you an example where it didn't play out. The historic Black church in Atlanta, Friendship Baptist Church, was the oldest black congregation in Atlanta. The sanctuary was torn down to make way for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium where the Atlanta Falcons play. And I'm like, wait a minute, I have photographs that I've taken myself of a historic marker in front of that church that says it's on the National Register of Historic Places. So how did it manage to get demolished? You know, yeah. So that's that's kind of how things operate. And heard something the other day about treaties that were dishonored for with indigenous North Americans, people Columbus found over here, whoever was coming. Just roughshod, ran all over the countryside, just commandeered stuff. If you want to see a funny rendition, check out Trevor Noah. He's got a HBO stand-up special, and he does a segment on when the British came and took over India.
Oh yeah,
it's hilarious. I mean, it's serious, but it's hilarious the way he presents it.
Who called you great? You're great.
You know, also,
you wait for somebody else to call you great. You just call yourself great.
You know, we have another great landmark in Miami that was saved by Enid Pinckney, this wonderful lady, the Hampton House. Mm-hmm. And the Hampton House was where all of the great black entertainers who would come to entertain on South Beach, Sarah Vaughan, the list goes on, you can name them. That's where they had to stay in Brownsville, because South Beach was segregated.
A sundown town, right? Was it
right.
No. Yeah, and in fact, they say that's where I have pictures because it's been restored. You can go visit it now. There's a picture of Martin Luther King in the pool. Supposedly, that's where he began his "I Have a Dream" speech in the Hampton House. So there are great historic places that are being preserved. If you get to Miami, you definitely should go visit that museum and see what's in there. They also did a play down at the Colony Theater called One Night in Miami. And part of the set now is in the Hampton House. They donated it to the Hampton House because when Muhammad Ali won the championship, he, Malcolm X, Jim Brown, the football player, and the singer Sam Cooke could not stay down on South Beach and celebrate because it was segregated. At sundown, the only reason it was down there was because of the fight after hours. When the fight was over, they had to get out and go back to Brownsville to celebrate. So that's a little bit of history about saving these places that we've been talking about. One last thing I want to say, and I gotta go. My grandfather lived in Pittsburgh. I spent a lot of time in those streets in Pittsburgh, so I have a feel for the people and the geography of Pittsburgh. My grandfather was a night watchman at the Duquesne Light Company, the major power and light company. He lived, I forget the street, but on his street, the streetcar ran by. Lots of streetcars back then. So that flavor that Wilson was writing about, if you go to Pittsburgh and walk those streets, it's very palpable. You can feel that energy. Pittsburgh with the steel mills and all that was going on there, was a whole different time and a different atmosphere. You had the great steel mills, and Negroes were just beginning to get jobs in the steel mills where all the money was. So that's all part of all that I get when I read August Wilson's plays.
Yeah,
that's good. Are you?
Man, you took me back when you mentioned the Hampton House, bro. I used to go there. I used to go to the club at the Hampton House. In the Overtown area,
right?
Where Sam Cooke and them used to have to stay as well. and it was demolished, and they built a post office on the site where that hotel. I can't remember the name of the hotel, but whatever that post office is, it's in downtown Miami. Is built on the site of where that hotel was. Yeah.
Look,
Oh man.
guys, I've got to run.
Thank you, Law. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
And
good.
again, I want to echo what Professor Murtaugh said. It's been a real pleasure. I didn't know
Yeah.
what was going to be going on here today. I just saw the thing from Summer, and I said, well, let me go and see what's going on. And I'm looking at my phone now. We've been on here now for an hour and 50 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Time has gone by so fast.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they say, when you're having fun, time goes away.
It moves. It
And
moves.
this
Not.
has been real fun. I will
Yes.
get back together. I want to get everybody's information. Well, yours, Mr.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
So that we can stay in contact.
Yeah,
So
because I definitely,
think Summer has it, so I'll get it through him.
because I definitely want to bring us back together, because you make me want to have a session about Black theater, the history of Black theater, because I don't know it, and I think we should explore the history of Black theater a little more. So we definitely have to make this happen again. So we're going to get each other's information.
Okay. Peace, guys. I'm out.
Peace.
All right,
Thank
man.
you
Peace.
so
Take care of
much.
yourself.
Thank you. That's good. So I'm gonna say goodbye so you can have your real featured guest. I'm gonna say thank you, Baba, for including me. Thank you for
Hey,
being Baba. You know, thank you for really.
Thanks for bringing the crowd. This is wonderful.
Right.
This is really nice, man.
And you really they will come, man. And you did that. You did that, bro. I mean, that's Joseph. Literally, that's how I came to Florida. Was through the M Ensemble. That was my first job in Florida, right out of grad school. M Ensemble. I mean, that's the full. We call it squircular. You know, it's the full. We come back, but we're not in the same place. We've progressed, but we've returned to where we began, and that's really what's going on here. And now you're a part of that, because you'll be going. You're going to become the next whole generation of theater and storytelling, and you know, speaking of the heritage and legacy.
Let me give this shameless plug. M Ensemble in 2021 will celebrate 50 years of theater in the state of Florida. Half a century. Yeah, we started that in 1971.
That's
back
amazing.
in the day.
Yeah. So,
that has to be chronicled.
Yeah, we want to do everything we can to get them the resources. You see people talk about, well, you know, Black Lives Matter and what can I do to help and blah, blah, blah. You know what you can do to help? Endow M Ensemble with $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million endowment, and let them set up a whole Black theater complex where you can train actors for the next generation to do these plays, to direct these plays, to do the costuming for these plays are a whole industry that will feed. I mean, talk about Disney. Disney ain't got none of August Wilson.
Right.
You know, I mean, you got firecrackers every night and, you know, Goofy and Donald. No. I mean, August Wilson will provide you with an economic stimulus package that will blow your wig back. So thank you for being about it like that, Mr. Ward. It's always
Thank you.
Thank you, Baba. I'm going to say peace until next time. All right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Peace and hair grease, bro.
You know it.
I do want people to know this. This was just sent to me. So there's a book called Conversations with August Wilson, and it's edited by Jackson Breyer and Mary C. Harding. And this book was withdrawn from the Carnegie Library collection in September 19th, 2006. A little bit after August Wilson's death. And so this is a book that kind of goes into a lot of information that we were talking about. And Keith Turner sent this to me. So basically, this book was withdrawn, so people are missing out on a lot of information. about August Wilson and his life and the ideas and thoughts that he had. So this is something I definitely have to get my hands on. But the information that we was able to cover tonight was awesome. I learned a lot. I'm sure I know my viewers learned a lot about August Wilson. I wasn't even really expecting this to go this deep. So when they were talking about writing, how sometimes the ancestors in the universe can lead the writing, I believe that's the same thing with what I do with On the Shoulders of Giants, because it's a certain feeling that I have. So with this August Wilson piece that I just did, it was just on time. It was the feeling. I believe like it was the universe saying, all right, it's time to do this. And then because when I put everything together, when I match up the music and everything, it's all a specific feeling. And if it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to do it. But it has to. It's the same thing with this writing, and I believe all this was supposed to happen. So thank you, Baba. Like really, thank you, because I know when we talked on Wednesday, I was saying I was apologizing for this being kind of a last minute request, but not only did you come through as far as yourself, but you brought an ensemble with you that made this better than I ever expected. So, Bob, I'm grateful. Thank you. We lost, but man, y'all had a treat tonight. Tonight was definitely a treat. Make sure you all visit my website. Bob coming back.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah,
okay.
My signal dropped, but I'm just thinking. Okay. When did we first talk about this? Wednesday. That's 2 days.
Right.
And I'm blown away because I wasn't expecting it to be this good. You know.
Right.
I was sitting here wondering how much do I know about August Wilson that I could talk for an hour, you know? But
right.
But the people that showed up, this was wonderful, man. For something that just came in. So it's everything's in good spiritual control. It's divinely ordained. It went down just like it was supposed to. Yeah,
definitely. So once again, though, Baba, how can people get in contact with you? How can people reach you? Some more people want you to come out and tell stories and learn more about the information that you give. Can you reiterate how people can get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can get me email at Pyramid Productions, like one word with an S, Pyramid Productions 1977 at gmail.com. Pyramid Productions, like one word, all lowercase. Pyramid Productions 1977 at Gmail. I'm Baba Olusegun Samuel G. Williams on Facebook, and I'm Baba Olusegun on Instagram.
Okay, and what about the theater company? How can they learn more about that?
The theater company is the M Ensemble Company. It's based in Miami. They have a website, M Ensemble Company Inc. I believe .com. I'm gonna look that up right quick. I believe that's what it is. M Ensemble Company Inc. All right,
say your email again.
My email, Pyramid Productions, PYRAMIDPRODUCTIONS 1977. That's 1977 at Gmail. The M Ensemble is lowercase b M Ensemble. THE. It looks like Vim Ensemble. THEMENSEMBLE at Gmail. They work out at the Sandrell Rivers Theater in Liberty City. It's part of one of the Metro Rail stations. They got a really nice theater in there that the county built, and they're in residence there. Have been for a couple of years now. If you want to reach them,
I just put it on the screen. Pyramid Productions 1977 at Gmail. So
yeah, it's all lowercase though. It's all lowercase.
Okay.
And it's PYR. PYR. Yeah, it's not PRY, it's PYR.
PYRI. Gotcha. There you go. Pyramid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
All
yeah,
right.
that's it. At
Pyramid
gmail.com.
production. All right. So
And the ensemble is THE, it's all lowercase,
okay.
THEMENSEMBLE at Gmail.
All right.
That's
So
your
yeah,
email, and I think the website is what is the website?
yes, I'll look them up.
VMensemble.com. So it's VMensemble.com is the website.
Okay.
That's the email address, and the website is just drop the Gmail in the ad and put VMensemble.com.
Right. I appreciate you, Bob. I appreciate everything that came together tonight because this
All those
this was above my expectations. Just went way beyond that. Like I'm not even sports is on and I missed it. I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad because it's like this stuff like this, it need to happen more. And I know I dedicated myself to making sure that these stories that we don't learn, this information that we don't learn, this history that we don't learn, that it makes sure it get out. So this is to me, this is my mission. This is what I'm supposed to be here doing as a historian. And I just want to make sure that I give it my all. So for people like you, because you're gonna help me become better at what I do, because I get to learn so much from you and others. So I really do appreciate you continue to give up your time to be a part of this with me.
Let me ask you a question. When did you
Yes, sir.
finish Rickards High School?
I
When did you
graduated in 2002.
2002?
Yeah.
You ever heard of a substitute teacher called the roster sub?
No. But
Because
that was
I was subbing in Rickards back in 2002.
okay. And you
I
know
had
what?
dreadlocks. I had dreadlocks then.
I may have saw you. To be honest, I may have saw you, but I don't. It's been a minute, so I don't really remember a lot. Some of the stuff. It's been a while, but I
Yeah,
think
I don't remember you from any classes that but
yeah.
yeah, Rickards is right. Rickards is walking distance from my house.
Okay, yeah. It's
It's
but
right up the street.
and one thing I loved about going to Rickards is we had culture, and that's one of the things that we talked about here tonight is culture. We were able to create a culture at Rickards that we still carry on to this day for those who were at Rickards when I was at Rickards, because we could just once we find out somebody went to Rickards during that time, we just give each other a look and we understand what we're saying. It's like the mindset that we had, the way we dressed, the way we walked, the way we talked, the way we did things. You know, we can still see remnants of that today. So that
That's
that
that,
piece of it just existing, yeah, that was us.
that's that language dynamic that we were talking about with August.
Right, right,
That's that thing. That's that thing.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna hold you up anymore, but I do thank you. But I want to remind people to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's your first time, please subscribe. You are in for a treat tonight. Make sure you hit that like button, you share, you comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what historical topics you would like me to talk about more on here. You would like us to dig deep into. Please support me on Patreon at patreon.com/OTSOG. Becoming a patron, you get exclusive information. You get first right to information and a lot of incentives. And you can also visit my website at www.ontheshoulders1.com, where I've profiled over 210 figures from the African diaspora across the world. If you've never, I am the digital version, the 2010, 2020 version of a historian named Joel Augustus Rogers. Joel Augustus Riders. That's like the foundation of some of the ideas that I got this from. He has books to it. Some of the main books is called World's Great Men of Color, Volumes 1 and 2, where he chronicled the personalities. And that's similar to what I do. And I just do it in a digital form, in a more of a hip hop form for our time now. So that's what we got going on the Shows with James. We're going to keep hitting y'all in the head with information like this. So, Baba, thank you again, and we'll catch y'all next time. Peace out.
Yes, sir.